One of the most fascinating things that I once saw on Purim is the Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer says he holds that the greatest nace of Purim was that during the Suda of Achashverosh, which Yidden were not supposed to go there and attend, and during the Suda, there was a very big kitrig, against Klal Yisrael, and in this kitrig, there was the Gezerah already of Haman that's going to be punish the Yidden. Al Shenenu Mesudas Achashverosh, it says in Chazal, they took pleasure from this Suda, and yet in the middle of this Suda, that's when Hashem set up the Yeshua. The seeds of the Yeshua was set up in the greatest Hester. I mean, the Sfarim say that there was a very big Chil Hashem at this Suda, even though it might have been kosher and everything. But the Chil Hashem was that, it says that Achashverosh took out the big day kahuna, he wore the big day kahuna, he took out the kalim of the Beis HaMikdash, and to go to the party because you hold it's a political necessity, that's one thing. But nehanu mesudas Achashverosh, to get hanoah from the Suda, to party as if you're happy when the kalim and the big day kahuna are there, and there's a churban, that was a Chil Hashem. The Chil Hashem is already a very heavy thing. And during this Suda, he calls Vashti. Vashti refuses with a Meshugana request of coming out naked. And at the end, he kills Vashti. And then, sooner or later, he looks for another wife, who happens to be Esther, and that came the Yeshua. The Yeshua came at a time at the place of the deepest Hester, when the Yidden were doing the Averis that they shouldn't have been done. And yet, in this party, that's where the Geula came. The seeds that Hashem wove, that it should come out, the Geula, with Vashti being killed, and then coming out with Esther. So that's a tremendous understanding of how do you look at times of Hester that we have. Sometimes we go through a Hester, sometimes we go through a double Hester, a concealment of Hashem. Anochi Haster Aster. And then we could fall into Yush, despair, and say, what's going to be? I'll never get out of this. And from Purim, Shekol Kol Yivecha Lo Yevoishu. We don't lose any hope. Even the biggest Hester, at the time of the Hester, that's where Hashem could plant the seeds of Geula. I always mechazik myself with this Yisoid. You know, Purim was Anochi Haster Aster. They say, what does it mean, the double lashon of Hester, Esther min HaTorah? That sometimes Hashem could conceal himself, but somehow you know he's behind the curtain. But sometimes Anochi Haster means I will conceal the fact that I'm concealing myself. You're not even aware that Hashem is concealing himself. You're so gone that you can't even perceive that this Hashem might be hiding behind the wall. And yet, the Geula is there. The Geula is there. It's covered over with a double Hester. But it's there. And Hashem worries. And Hashem is concerned. We're in the times of Hester. There's so many things of Hester, and it's really a double Hester. It's enough that we went through the Corona for 2 years, and it's still around, and so many different things are happening all over the world. It's a Hester, but we have to feel that when the Hester is even in the Hester, Hashem is weaving the seeds of Geula, which we'll only might see Maybe we should see it quickly. We're going to see it later on. And we'll look back retroactively and we'll see, wow, all these things were part of the Gula, even though we didn't see it then. At the Megillah it says, La Yehuda Maisa Oira v'Simcha v'Sasan v'Ikar. The Yidden had, at the time of the Gula, Oira, Simcha, Sasan v'Ikar. And the Chazal say in the Masechta Megillah, what's Oira? Oira means Torah. They were Makabel the Torah, knew the Torah Shabbat Peh. The Svarim tell us on Purim. Simcha is Yontiv. Sason is Bris Milah. Vikor is Tefillin. So the Sfas Emes asks, so what do you have to go fajrate and say, and then tell us what each one means? Why didn't it just say explicit? Torah, Yantiv, Mila, and they add tefillin. You're giving me adjectives, then we have to figure out what it means. So say it straight. So the Sfas Emes says, Mayridik. So of course they had all these things. Of course they were learning Torah. They had Yantiv. They had Bris Milah, they had Tefillin, but they didn't have the Oira of Torah. They didn't have the Simcha of what it means to have a Yantiv. They didn't understand the preciousness of wearing Tefillin, which testifies to Hashem's relationship with us. They didn't appreciate that we're self-connected to Hashem. You can learn Torah and you don't see the Oira of Torah. You don't get the Geschmack of Torah. You're not inspired. Hey, that's what they did. They learned Torah, but they didn't have the Oira. Purim showed you. The Yidden came back, and they all of a sudden they appreciated everything what Hashem did for them. They realized that in the biggest sorrow, in the middle of the Hester Aster, Hashem sent the Gula. They said you have to look really deep. They looked deep into themselves, and they saw that, I'm a Yid. I have Torah. I have to have a geschmack in Torah. And all of a sudden, on Purim, they got the aura of the Torah. They got Simcha of Yontiv. Yontiv was not a burden or pressure. It was something that you enjoyed. Yontiv. It's rendezvous with Hashem. Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuos. They understood what Milah is, the preciousness of what that we have a bris that's irrevocable. It's Bifsarenu. And tefillin, to put on tefillin, to ask Hashem when we have tefillin, Hashem, help me control my thoughts, help me control my lave, which is the tefillin shi'atzal and sharash. Purim is the time when we have to see the inner of the things that we do, put a little life into it, put a little neshama. Purim cotton. Well, we're talking about all the Inyan of Purim, but we're not there yet. We got another month to go. I just pulled out just a few minutes ago. I remember I had a yad. Yad, it was given out of bar mitzvah to me in Eretz Yisrael, Tafshin Mem Tes. That's over 30 years ago. I went to bar mitzvahs, they flew me in, and this was like a memorabilia for this thing, for this bar mitzvah. Where was it held, the bar mitzvah? At the Kaisel HaKotten. You ever been to the Kaisel HaKotten? I think it's to the southern side. And when we went there 30-some years ago, it was pretty dangerous over there. We had a guy with a machine gun, an Israeli guard on Yontiv. Anyway, it was Shmini Atzeres. And I got up and I said a drasha. Shmini Atzeres, there was Sukkot time, and I said, when you get a bris, you say, Zeh HaKotten Gadol Yeh. Zeh HaKotten Gadol, this cotton, this Rachanimul 8 days old, Gadol Yeh. He should become a Gadol. I mean, Gadol in all the aspects of what it means to be a Gadol. So I said, we're davened by the Kaisel HaKotten, it's called, because it's not the big Kaisel. I said, Bezes Hashem, Zeh HaKotten Gadol Yeh. The Kaisel HaKotten should become Gadol and attached and be full of Yidden davening there. There won't be no room at the Kaisel HaGadol. And I was just thinking the same thing. Purim cotton. Purim is like, kleiner Purim. It's not the same as the real Purim. The Mitzvah Hashem, if we celebrate the Purim cotton with a little change of heart and mind of how we want to feel the aura of Torah, we want to feel the geschmack of what a yontif is, then the same bracha I give to all of us, that Zeh HaKatan Gadol Yeh, that this Purim cotton will help us get the Zeicha to the Purim HaGadol, where we have a Purim which we will makabel the Torah again, and we'll feel the Oira of Torah, the Ava for Yiddishkeit, the warmth of Hashem's embrace, and that would be Zeicha to the Gula Shlema.